Many Tesla bulls testing the latest version of full self-driving version 14.1.4 are now calling autonomy solved. First, it looks like the Cybercab is getting closer to production, as for the very first time, it was spotted driving on public roads near Los Altos, California, 10 minutes from Tesla's engineering headquarters. For now, there was a person in the driver's seat. Second, we'll watch 3 video clips from drivers who are showing how this new version of FSD is magnitudes better than the previous version and showing signs of what Elon calls sentience. Finally, Tesla Vice President of AI, Ashok Goswami, asked shareholders to vote yes on Elon's comp package, saying Tesla is at a critical juncture and Elon leading Tesla is more relevant now than ever. Elon made critical decisions over the last 10 years that led the company to finally solving autonomy. We got Larry Goldberg here with us today. Larry is a serial entrepreneur. He's been an active venture capital investor for the last decade. Check out lumincente.com. Thank you so much, Larry.
Great to be here, Herbert.
So this is FSD. You've been playing with it. I've been playing with it. We both think that it's pretty impressive. Its magnitude better than previous version. Before we get to videos of that, though, this was a new sighting. For the first time ever, Tesla's Cybercab was spotted testing on public roads, Los Altos, California. This is 10 minutes away from Tesla's engineering headquarters. There was a person in the driver's seat, but that makes sense, right? Here it is. We don't have video of it, but basically it's now outside of the gigafactories. And of course, you can have a person in front of it. It's not necessarily, you don't want to do any kind of risk anything, but it's out there. How significant is this in terms of timing of production? High-scale production of Cybercab?
Yeah, this is, we saw the same pattern around the release of the Y, the original Y, the refreshed Y, the refreshed 3. We start seeing them on the roads weeks about weeks before production starts, maybe a month or 2, but not longer than that. So I think production is going to kick off. I think we will learn at the shareholders meeting next week. I think we will learn of the production start date. Hopefully we will learn of the production start date, or
What's
they
your
may
thinking
announce
right
it
now?
after the meeting.
Second quarter next year?
Yeah, I think production start date is going to be, it could be earlier than second quarter of next year, the way things are going. It could be. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's certainly not running late. It certainly seems to be getting there. They're doing crash testing. I mean, why would you do crash testing this early? They're doing a lot of stuff that indicates that something's happening in terms of production.
Yeah. It's at this point, we're all looking out for signs that it's been delayed. And so far, we don't think it's delayed. So that's a good news. It will come out sometime next year. And it looks like it's going to be scale, and with Elon focused on it. So one of the questions everybody's asking about Robotaxi and full self, the release of full self-driving 14.1.4 gets it closer to that point where this thing you can really, really feel confident about this to reduce critical interventions. But they're asking, why aren't there more Robotaxis in Austin? And this everyday astronaut asked the question, anecdotally, having been in Austin for the last 2 weeks now, I haven't seen a single Robotaxi, but I see like 10 Waymos a day. I've been keeping my eyes out, and I'm on the wait list to try it. Now, of course, Austin's Waymo's geofence is much smaller. They have lots of cars there. And Tesla still doesn't have as many as we want. Elon responded to him saying, Robotaxi is just a Model Y that everyone who buys a car receives. It just has a slightly different software build, reminding him that you're not going to notice, you're not going to be able to count every Robotaxi that Tesla has because you can't tell the difference versus Waymo is very clear. But what's your thinking about, the number of cars that Tesla has that are Robotaxis?
I'm not sure what the value is of having more cars at this point. I don't really understand it. I think, somebody said, it's about getting the miles, getting getting the data. I pointed out that it's not getting the data because they have 100,000, I don't know, some huge number of Teslas driving the streets every day, and they're getting that data from those. And so getting data from the Robotaxi is a pretty minor issue. I think they have to dial in their operating procedures. They have to dial in their infrastructure. There's a lot of work to be done. So I wouldn't fuss over it at this point. I think everybody's anxious to try it out, anxious to, I understand that. Look, every rollout that Tesla's ever had has been accompanied by this angst surrounding it. So I'm used to it by now. I expect it. It just washes over me. They'll do it in their own good time.
And then, so to what extent, Larry, does it matter how good FSD 14 is? So when they launched Robotaxi in June, they said that version that Robotaxi was using is 6 months ahead of what we have. And then just last week, many of us, including you and me, we got FSD version 14.1.4. Everybody who's pressed the advanced button now gets it. But it's still the version that is not quite yet smooth. He said that we're focused on safety. It's a magnitude change, and we'll work on comfort. These potential small braking, which I've not experienced at all, by the way, but many people
I experienced
have.
it first time yesterday. I'd written already that day that I hadn't experienced it yet, but I actually
Yeah.
did get to experience it. I know what causes it, by the way, but which I'm sure Tesla figured out already. But okay.
Can you explain what is it? What causes
Yeah,
it?
the most often times it happens is on a turn where there's a certain amount of blindness in the turn, and it is recalibrating its decision about its strategy on that turn. And sometimes it'll decide to move forward, and then it'll decide, no, it's not going to move forward. And it's making these decisions very rapidly. And so you get the regen kicking in, giving that stop a real hard stop versus what would have been a relatively smooth transition if there were no regen. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a complicated thing to solve.
Not at all. So 14.1.2, if you are wanting to get this version, wait till you get 14.1.2, or sorry, 14.2. No, 14.1,
14.2.
14.2. And then when you get that will be solved. This will be much more comfort. So my question to you, though, is what is the version that robotaxis in Austin are using? Are they still 6 months ahead? Are they already using the 14.2? What's your guess there?
I think the time that they are ahead will compress over time. So they're probably, no longer 6 months. They're probably closer to 3 months. I think we're less than 3 months away from 14.2. They may be at 14.2 point something. We're not going to get 14.2. We're going to get 14.2.2 or 14.2.1, the very early releases, and then 14.2.2. That's probably closer to where they are. And, it's a separate branch, so it's not that easy to equate what we'll get to what they have. So we'll see.
Right.
One thing I do know is that what we just received, our ability to select whether to park in the garage or to park on the street, or that kind of selection option, they already had that several months ago. We know that. So that gives us a sense of what it is. And I certainly didn't experience any jerkiness last time I rode, but that's a little while ago. I'd be interested. I'm going to ride next week again if I can find a Robotaxi in a time. So I'll be able to tell you then what I think.
They need to increase those vehicle numbers when we all come to Austin. I think Farzad was trying to hail a Robotaxi just yesterday, and he had to wait. They don't have enough. Yeah. So they, I don't think so far I've heard any person testing Robotaxi to say that it has the jerkiness. So I think you're right. They probably have 4.2 something, and then 14.2 is supposed to be the more has reason to. So we'll be see, but there is a lot of features here that we're watching now. I'm going to play 4 video clips from drivers testing FSD, and we'll take a look at each one of them. Chuck Cook, one of the best FSD beta testers, of course, he had a highlight clip. He calls his Model Y Possum. It's going to be traded in today. He's going to buy the new Juniper Model Y. So it's actually the old version, but it's AI4. And then it shows how excited he is about how this car understood the intent of a pedestrian without the pedestrian making any kind of movement. Let's watch this.
Oh, okay. Whoa, do you see that? That was awesome! The flashing yellow was stopping me. I didn't see the pedestrian. The pedestrian was way over there. But these flashing yellows was the warning. I mean, the flashing yellows happened because she pressed the button. She created that scenario, but she was way over there. So the lights work great. Just like the school zones, I know the lights work great, but that pedestrian crosswalk was probably one of the better ones I've had with that kind of a lighting system. It wasn't her showing intent. She didn't stick a leg out. She was parked in that spot, but she had hit that button that initiated the pedestrian crosswalk signage that stopped the car on a dime. That was now I need to go back and look at that and see how long it was flashing. Those of you that get the benefit of watching this in post-production can rewind it a little bit. Did the lights come on and that's why it broke, or did it not see it soon enough and then it broke aggressively? Those are the things that are going in my mind right now, but no doubt about it, it did the right thing. Now, as a human, I probably would have blasted right through that. Because I was like, oh, I didn't see it quick enough, and I'm going so fast. I don't want anybody to tailgate me and get hit. But it did the right thing. It stopped when the lights were flashing safely. There was nobody behind me either. So if it was going to take into consideration whether or not it should go through the light, it did, because there was nobody behind me to worry about. Gosh, moments like that just make me so excited about the potential of this technology to not only drive safer, save lives, the attention in 360 degrees when there are no obstructions, and how it handles obstructions can be solved through software in many, many, many cases. And when not, then just low speed and caution can be the rule, and or mapping and navigation can be the other rule. I know a lot of you love to talk about my camera placement issues, and I still do not believe this is the optimal camera location, but Tesla is continuing to prove that they can mitigate risk through software technique, navigation, speed management, things like that. So I do think that this car can go unsupervised if the states will allow it. It'll just have to manage its operational design domain and go places it knows it can go.
Isn't he great? I love Chuck. What a great observation. But yeah, so give your thoughts on this, but also his last comment. He thinks this version could actually be the unsupervised already. I don't know how many people believe that.
Yeah, I think the smoothness issue will have to be smoothed over. So I don't think this version is the right version for commercial release. I think commercially, we don't want people to get a fright, and they would get a fright. But by the way, I had my own pedestrian moment, exactly the same pattern. I didn't see them. They hadn't pressed the light. They actually stepped onto the crosswalk before they even pressed the button. They didn't press the button. They just stepped out onto the crosswalk. Car saw their intention and stopped. So this was even a better example. And this was in downtown with the much more occluded stuff going on because they were building the roads. Anyway, yeah, I mean, Chuck is he is the OG in the testing world. I know Chuck and have met him, and he's a very, very, very grounded person. Look, he's a pilot with immense flying experience, and so he understands the dynamics of control and movement very well. So I really trust what he says.
So your experience was a pedestrian stepping out. That's an intent. We kind of already saw little glimmers of that. It's going to go only any better. Ashok Goswami did a presentation. He explained, how great that the system can actually recognize intent. He showed two videos. I did that show one time where he showed a bunch of ducks and then chickens. Yeah. And you could watch the intent of these ducks and chickens as they're crossing the road. And then another video where there was geese that was just standing there in a puddle. And they clearly weren't going to move. So the car goes, oh, okay, I'm going to back out and continue because I see that you are not moving. So that part, they got it. But this part here is new. Press the button. Lights go on saying his pedestrian walk. It knew that that's what that's for. And that's what those lights are for.
What's so important about that moment is that the car has ignored yellow flashing lights before.
That's right. That's what his biggest complaint we had 2 years ago. Okay. He did
By the
mention
way,
also.
just a correction on maybe what I said or what you heard. They hadn't stepped into the road yet.
Oh, okay. Okay. There you go. Because
They
you
had
said earlier
stepped
he stepped in.
towards the road
Yeah,
when it
okay.
actually came to a stop.
Gotcha.
And they continued across the road without pressing the button. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So he talked about school bus, and that was one of the big things is the new feature of 14.1.4 is recognizing emergency vehicles and properly recognizing school bus. Darren Appleton said 14.1.4 stops for a school bus. First time I've seen FSD respond correctly to a stop school bus. It was dark. It was hard to tell what the flashing lights were about at first. And then the car indicated right and pulled over. So let's watch this video here. Yeah, you don't know if that is a school bus. You don't know if that is in a fire truck. You can barely see the stop sign that they flash over there. And the car moved to the right and parked, stopped. Good distance. It definitely recognized it early. And then when the lights turned off and they pulled the stop sign off on the side there, right? Then the car knew it was time to go. That is brilliant.
I have a little bit of skepticism about this particular video, and the reason is I have had the car stop for a school bus before when it sees a visible stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it recognize red flashing lights yet. So the fact that it did have a stop sign out, the fact that it wasn't visible to the eye doesn't necessarily mean the camera wasn't able to, guess its shape and see it. So a little bit of skepticism. I'd like to see better proof.
Yeah, good point. All right, so then we've got more videos. He's 14.1.3 enters the parking garage.
Parking lot behavior is just amazing.
Notices a person reversing, initiates a turn signal, gives them room, then takes their parking spot. We're seeing more and more of these videos that is showing this as well.
Yeah, I've had that experience, and that was in 14.3.
So we're going into a parking garage. Then it sees a car backing out. I mean, I've seen this many times, but it initiates a turn signal already. That tells you that it actually knows. It's trying to give them room, and then it backs into it or whatever. Takes their parking spot.
That's human behavior. There's no way the guy in the other car doesn't think that this is a human that's done that. There's no way.
And then there's these people walking, and it still kind of knew that.
Yeah.
Not great. So yeah, I mean, we've seen this before where somebody's leaving and it knows it's a parking spot, but this one, it actually saw that it was going to need space. It moved a little bit to the right, and then it backed into it very nicely. So that was nice. Here's another one from Zach, and he's saying that just had a phenomenal zero intervention drive with 14.1.4. Inside a parking garage, pick the fastest exit lane, drives me to a supercharger on the roof of a garage, parks at the charger. 100% of this drive is on FSD. Not a single inch was manual driven. Yeah. I mean, this parking garage thing, used to be hit and miss. Now, 14.1.4, that's the new feature. It seems to do this really, really well. Have you tried this at parking garages already?
Yes, I have. Very successfully.
See that gate?
Last week, we went to a restaurant on 14.1.3, and I set the restaurant, it's downtown Durham, I set the restaurant as the destination. It automatically chose parking garage as its parking method, parking strategy. But when we got to the restaurant, so we were stopped at a traffic light, and over the road from the traffic light was a parking garage. But the car was put on its right indicator. And I knew that there was a parking garage down the road, but I wanted that parking garage across the road, so I did intervene. That's been my only intervention, by the way, since I got 14.3. So with 14.3 and 14.4 all combined over the couple of weeks that we've had both of these, I've only had this one intervention, and that was for choice of parking garage. So one of the improvements I'd love to see is where you can actually select the parking spot or the area that you want to park in. so that
Yeah.
it doesn't drive you into the parking garage, right around and right around and right, or into the parking lot, right around and right around, and then pick a spot. You put the area that it wants, goes to that area to find the nearest parking spot to that area.
My suspicion is, that fine tuning of those things. I've seen other people ask for something similar. Is not going to be an additional, request that you'd have to press on. It's going to be probably a verbal thing at that point where you'll say to the car, "Can you please park in that spot? Not this one.
Yeah.
That parking garage on the left, not the white." So this video, you saw it in a parking garage. Wait for the gate to go up, and then it goes through. It's got that ability. Here it went up a parking garage because it knew that the supercharger at the roof, and it parked itself really nicely. This ability for this car to find a supercharger is just one little step forward to Robotaxi, and eventually they'll have the wireless. But right now, somebody still needs to plug it in. But still, this just moves it that much further. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so those are the four. I mean, at this point, let's take this. We got this confirmation from Tesla themselves. They had announced that the combined distance, October 22nd, that was last week already, Tesla's already driven 6 billion miles. And then Elon saw this posted this somewhere in some sort of meeting room. He took a photo of it. Says the future is autonomous down at the bottom. And then what he did was he's now put this as his profile picture here on X. So he's he liked it.
I'm not here to contradict Elon, but I think that post is wrong. I think the present is now autonomous.
You're funny. All right. Yeah, it is, isn't it? So 14.1.4, any last comments on that? What's your experience so far? What does it need to fix?
I'm just loving it. I'm just loving it. And, I want to put it to more tests. I want to really stress test it. And I know how and where I'm going to stress test it. It passed. Yesterday I did one stress test, which was an off-ramp, which is kind of the most dangerous off-ramp in the whole of the triangle. It kind of reminds me of that old freeway in Los Angeles. What is it? Forget which it is.
I know. I know which one you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was built in the 50s, 40s or 50s.
City.
And it's terribly bad, and so many versions have failed on it. Sometimes they got it fixed and then it failed again. Anyway, I took 14.1.3 and 14.1.4. Man, it handled it like a champion. Yeah. And its whole lane planning to make it was just like perfect. Mm-hmm. And coming off it is a very complex set of, exits and entrances and speeds, and just aced it all. So I think, the future is here. I think it's now. Elon's wrong. It's not the future.
You're in a different state. I'm in a different state. We have friends in multiple states that are not California and Austin, and we're all already reporting that it's pretty cool. I've now had 8 months straight of no critical disengagements, but the 14.1.4 was the first time for me. The car, I have a 3-car garage. I have a curvy driveway. This car backed out the first time I ever pressed, start self-driving right at the garage. Pressed it, never did it before. And I just confidently went through this curvy driveway before I would give it a chance. And it's like, inch, nudge, inch. And it was like, come on, you can see the car, you can see the car knows where the driveway goes, but it's just careful. Now it's like, came out.
I have the same experience, except now I park as well in a very complicated parking, sort of
setup,
set of maneuvers. I haven't yet parked without the Cybertruck in the garage already, and I'm very keen to see whether it remembers which spot it's supposed to park in. But man, it's exciting to get in that car, choose your destination, punch the button, and it's all done. The only thing it doesn't do is open the garage door for you.
Unless you have that
I haven't
auto.
That. I haven't tested that. I've always opened the garage door with my cue first.
Oh, you do have a cue. Yeah, you have my cue.
Yeah, I tested to see whether it initiates the my cue. That
That
That's a
would be like
step that's necessary for me.
that would be killer. Ashok Swami posted a video, and then he was showing that the car actually maps out 2 miles ahead of where you're going. And so I wonder if when you're heading home, because now you've been driving in your property, it maps that now too, right? It
No, it
knows
certainly
now.
does, because
I think so. It's got
it
memory.
knows to park in my garage, because it shows garage when I choose to go home. It shows garage, and it goes straight into the garage. And the only thing, yeah,
Interesting,
it does
Larry.
that right
Because
now.
for me, it did not show garage. It said driveway. And so that's what I chose because it did not show garage for me. So maybe I needed
choose
to
garage.
teach it first that there's
Yeah.
a garage because I've never, that was the first ride. That's the difference. Because for you, it says garage, but for me, it said driveway. Very interesting. Learn something new. Last point here is Ashok Swami posted this. Of course, Elon's compensation package proposal is up for vote next week, very closely here on Wednesday. This note regarding the importance of Elon leading Tesla is more relevant now than ever. He's attached a note that he posted months ago. He said Tesla is a critical juncture as it's metamorphosing into the world leader in robotics. Creating large-scale, useful robots requires expertise across engineering design, manufacturing, real-world AI software, chips for AI, and more. Elon is, quite likely, the only person on Earth with deep skills and the right instincts across all these domains. Please vote yes on the
well
shareholder
said.
proposal.
Yeah, just that
Yeah.
sentence is so well said.
Yes.
Elon is quite likely the only person on earth with deep skills and the right instincts across all these domains. That should be printed
Yes.
in silver lettering above the Gigafactory. I mean, Elon is the only person in the world that combines all of these.
He's referring to this article that he posted in June, where he went through the June of last year. And I'm not going to go through all of it, but basically he explained how important Elon was to the development of AI and autonomy. And he said, he's been a key driver for everything that needed to happen in order for autonomy to be solved. He talked about in 2014, Autopilot started on a ridiculously tiny computer that only had 384 kilobytes. He asked the engineering team to implement lane keeping, lane changing, blah, blah, blah. Many, even the team, thought that the request was crazy. He didn't give up, pushed the team to achieve this. And in 2015, against all odds, they shipped the first Autopilot system, the world's first. The second closest such product only came to market many years later. He said in 2016, he went vision only. It was insane to bet the product on developing a vision from system. We've all know that story. And then not only did he push for strong AI software, but also for powerful AI hardware. As we now know, he's been planning for this ever since 2012. Every car has cameras. Every car could potentially become this 5-year-old AI computer is roughly 8 times the AI inference chip. And then he was the only one who bet to solve autonomy instead of sensor crutches. So he went through this whole list, and then he kickstarted the work on humanoid robots at Tesla in 2021, again, before any ChatGPT or other obvious examples of the rise of AI. He just knew that it was about to come, that it was ready, it was the right timing. Just like the vehicle autonomy, Optimus is also being developed to be competent, scalable, and cost-effective in order to scale widely. I could go on, but plainly, Elon is critical for Tesla's success in AI. That's what he wrote a long time ago. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to gainsay what he said, given his privileged position and his his success to date in running this team. So I really respect his opinion and his judgment on the fact that, although, to be honest, I'd form my own opinion and it's absolutely aligned with his.
Yeah.
Even though he's that much more qualified than I am, I'm absolutely, I feel very confident of my judgment in this case. And, everybody's nervous about this vote. I'm not. I think that if you look at how the analysts have swung behind Tesla's vision,
Yes.
if you see their acceptance of Tesla's vision, and these are important analysts, these analysts really are they're really leading the opinion, forming, cloud on the market. So you have to imagine that many of the institutions are buying into this and and also forming their own conclusions. They're also driving Teslas. They're also experiencing FSD. So not only am I certain of the retail vote, not only am I certain of the insiders vote, now that the insiders are an important factor, I'm even confident of the judgment, of the decision of the analysts, even though these advisory firms are advising against it. So just to cycle back to that, I think that Ashok really reflects the Tesla insider view that we've all come to adopt.
There you go. The Tesla Insider explaining what we assumed. We did a show yesterday. If you haven't seen it, watch that. That's where Larry goes through the institutions and the voting and also who and how the analysts have changed their language. They're now referring to Tesla as a physical AI company. I'm just going to end this show with this post from Nate Esparza. He said, "We are still so early." And then Elon replied to him and he said, "True. The world will be unrecognizable in 5 years." Elon's very, very bullish. He's very optimistic. And you know what? Elon can see the future better than anybody we know. And it's starting to come to fruition. So isn't that great?
I hope in 5 years' time, the political environment remains positive towards AI and positive towards full self-driving.
There we go. We'll have to do that. Thank you so much, Larry. So please follow Larry at Tesla Larry on X, and then check out his website, lumacenti.com. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.